Hello, writing friends. Welcome to day 35 of Keeping a Notebook and day 23 of National Poetry Month 2020. Betsy the Writing Camper and I are always glad to see you. 2020 is my 11th year of writing a poem each day of National Poetry Month. I always write around a different theme. For this year's poetry project, I have decided to introduce Surprise. Each April day, I will share a poem's can phrase about writing poetry. I will roll 3 word dice. If a die rolls blank, I will not re-roll it. I will write a poem inspired by 1, 2, or all 3 of the face-up words. Today's Roll the Dice poetry chat is titled, Poems Can Borrow a Writing Structure or Format.
It is time to roll the dice. We have 1, 2, 3, and a big roll. And the words are desperate, any, and run. Desperate, any, run. Greetings, fellow travelers on the Keeping a Notebook path. Today is day 35 of Keeping a Notebook. It is day 23 of National Poetry Month, and I would like to give you a high five. Some of you may be writing in your bedrooms. Some of you may be writing at your kitchen tables. Some of you may be writing in a closet or underneath a table or in some little snug spot. Wherever you are, I am glad you are here. And today we are thinking about how poems can borrow a writing structure or format. We talked about poems borrowing before, a pattern from the world like days of the week or hours of the day or seasons. This is a little different. But first, our words are desperate, any, and run. And so what it means to borrow that a poem can borrow a writing structure or format is simply that in the world there are many kinds of writing. We write recipes, we write advertisements, we write letters and cards and thank you notes and directions to go somewhere. And a poem can be written in one of these styles. So we know there are kinds of poems, like we talked about acrostic poems that spell something down the page, or some of you may know about haiku, or we've talked about rhymes, so you might know about couplets. There are all kinds of poems, sonnets, villanelles, sestinas. We aren't talking a lot about those this month, but a poem can borrow a writing structure or format. So I could write a poem in the format of an advertisement, or in the format of a letter. And so I did this today, but our words again are desperate, any, and run. So here are my notes. Desperate is feeling hopeless. It's in a bad time. It's a very big, dramatic feeling. Any, I said, it's like kind of like every. So anytime, anywhere, any place, anyone. I thought I might go with that because of that repetition. And then run is to go quickly. You might run an errand or run for office, run to the store, run around. Running often implies hurrying. And I jotted, little mouse is grateful to Sonata for the ride. She knows she will think of her time in the sky for the rest of her life. Maybe she will tell her. Maybe she will write her a thank you note. I'm not sure which. Antoinette can run, scamper, and now she knows what it might feel like to have wings. So as I started to just jot here, anytime I see the sky, anywhere I roam. I thought I would do any down the page here. But instead, I thought I want to have her write a thank you note. So right now it's called thank you note. I don't know if it'll stay called thank you note, but the draft, the typed version of this, where it will be at the end of, after our talk, will be at the Poem Farm, and it will say thank you note, and someday it might change. But for now, for today, this is it. Thank you note. Dear Glorious and Sonata, anytime I look at sky, I will think of you. One who somehow knew my dream, one who made my dream come true. Here in my burrow, I have a jar labeled flight. Where I keep that gift, I take it down and hold it close each night. Now, you heard me pause there? That's because, as you know, it's cross-out land there. I can barely even read it. And whenever I get to this point in my writing, that's when I know I need to get to typing. So the last lines again say, here in my burrow, I have a jar labeled flight. Where I keep your gift, I take it down and hold it close each night. I didn't, oh, with gratitude, Antoinette. I signed her name in cursive over here. I did not plan for today's poem to rhyme. It just ended up rhyming, but of course, and then I kept it rhyming. But of course, what mattered to me most, as always is the truth with rhyme or any poem that I'm writing, is that it makes sense. So if it started to get a little strange and not make sense, I would have taken the rhyme away. You can see to help it make sense, I jotted some rhyming words. To be honest with you, my favorite thing in this poem today is that the jars came back. When I write a group of poems that go together, it's always very special to me when something goes back to a poem from before. So way back, many days ago, and it was actually the only color jotting I did. It was on April 8th, so the 8th day of National Poetry Month. I had a poem here about how Little Mouse, and she didn't even have a name, Antoinette, by then, but Little Mouse has jars of things like beetles and berries and acorns, and also she had a jar of moonlight because she keeps beauty. Well, now, of course, that she has taken a flight in the sky, she would need a jar for that. But I didn't realize that until I started writing. So this was, again, a lesson to me, and perhaps a good thing for you to know that sometimes you don't know where a poem is going to go or a piece of writing will go, and you can just trust that as you stay writing, as I stay writing, ideas will come. And we can be open to accept them. And sometimes it's a really good surprise for us. This is one of my favorite, if not my very most favorite part of writing. So thank you for joining me today on day 23 of National Poetry Month. It is always a pleasure to be with you, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Here you can see my jotting and drafting for today. And if you look on the right-hand side, you can see where I was collecting some rhymes for the poem. Perhaps Antoinette's thank you note cards look like this. This one was made by my husband's Aunt Pat. She made it by pounding flowers onto paper and then making copies of these beautiful cards. Today's words are desperate, any, and run. Desperate, any, run. Thank you for writing with me today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.